Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping into lean management. It's a whole philosophy, really, designed to give customers more value by being absolutely relentless in hunting down and getting rid of waste. So let's dig in and see how it all works.
So what's the big promise of lean? Well, it's pretty simple, and honestly, it's incredibly powerful. You get more of all the good stuff, better quality, faster delivery, way more efficiency, and at the same time, you get less of what you don't want, cost. And trust me, this is way more than just a catchy business slogan. It's the absolute core goal of the entire lean way of thinking.
All right, here is our game plan. We're going to start with the 30,000-foot view. What exactly is lean? Then, we'll start peeling back the layers, looking at the 5 principles that form its foundation, where it all started at Toyota, the actual tools you can use, and we'll wrap things up with a pretty surprising twist about where the name lean even came from. Okay, so at its heart, lean management is a philosophy. It's a mindset that is just obsessed with one thing, eliminating anything and everything that doesn't create value from the customer's perspective. Think of it this way. If your customer wouldn't be happy to pay for an activity, lean considers it waste. Simple as that. And this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a real, practical framework that's been built over decades. Now, let's get into the foundation that guides all of that practice. So, how do you actually put this whole philosophy into motion? Well, it all kicks off with a set of core principles. And here's something you might find interesting. While the actual practices were born in Japan, the principles we're about to talk through were really defined and laid out by American researchers. Yep, in their game-changing 1996 book, Lean Thinking, James Womack and Daniel Jones took a deep dive into what Toyota was doing and managed to distill it all into this universal framework that really could be used in any industry on the planet. So let's walk through these 5 principles because they build on each other perfectly. It all starts with value. You have to know exactly what the customer wants. Second, you map out the value stream. That's every single step it takes to deliver that value so you can spot the waste. Third, you make sure that value can flow without any interruptions. Fourth, you set up a pull system. That just means you only make something when the customer actually asks for it. And finally, number 5, the job is never done. You have to constantly pursue perfection. It's all about continuous improvement. Okay, this all sounds fantastic, right? But you might be wondering, where did Womack and Jones even get these ideas? Well, to answer that, we've got to take a trip back in time to post-war Japan. Let's go right to the source, the Toyota Production System, or TPS for short. This is it. This is the real-world blueprint, the engine room where those 5 principles were actually born. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is straight from Toyota. They themselves connect the dots, acknowledging that their internal system is exactly what the rest of the world now calls lean. So yeah, TPS is the origin story. The first major pillar of TPS is a concept called jidoga. The best way to think about it is automation with a human touch. The whole idea is to build quality right into the process itself. So if a machine senses a problem, it stops instantly. That prevents even a single bad part from continuing down the line. It's brilliant. The second pillar is the one you've probably heard of, just in time. This is all about that flow and pull we talked about. Instead of forecasting demand and pushing huge batches of parts through the factory, each workstation only makes exactly what the next workstation in line needs, right when it needs it. This just crushes waste and slashes the amount of inventory you have to keep on hand. Okay, so we've got the big philosophy and the 2 main pillars, but how does this stuff actually get done on the factory floor? Well, that's where the Lean Toolkit comes in. Let's run through a few of the most important tools. First up is 5S, which is just an incredibly smart and simple way to organize any workspace. The 5 S's are sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. The whole point is to get rid of the waste that comes from being disorganized, like wasting 5 minutes just looking for the right tool. 5S makes that a thing of the past. Next, we have Kaizen. This is a huge one. It basically means continuous improvement. And we're not talking about massive top-down projects here. Kaizen is a culture. It's about empowering every single employee, from the CEO down to the person on the line, to constantly look for and make small, steady improvements to their own work every single day. And then there's this genius idea, poka-yoke, or error-proofing. The best example is a USB cable, right? You literally can't plug it in the wrong way. The design makes it impossible. That's poka-yoke. It's about designing your processes so that it's physically impossible to make a mistake in the first place. All these amazing tools, 5S, Kaizen, poka-yoke,
They're not just random tricks. They're all essential parts of a much bigger system called Total Quality Management, or TQM. It's a whole approach dedicated to achieving excellence in every single part of the business. We've been talking about Toyota, Kaizen, Jidoka, all these famously Japanese ideas. But here's the final twist in the story, and it's a good one. The name we use for this entire system, it's not Japanese at all.
So, what do you think? Who at Toyota came up with the word lean? Was it Taiichi Ono, the legendary creator of the Toyota production system? Maybe another executive?
Nope. The answer is no one at Toyota. The term lean was actually coined by an American researcher named John Krafcik way back in a 1988 article. He used that word to describe Toyota's system because it used less of everything, less effort, less space, less money, less time, to create the same amount of value. And what's really fascinating is that lean wasn't the only example of this. Just look at this. What Toyota internally called a QC circle for solving problems, we in the West know today as A3 problem solving. The term value stream mapping, that was also a name given by the American researchers Womack and Jones. It just goes to show how critical these Western observers were in translating these incredibly powerful Japanese ideas for the rest of the world. So let's bring this all back home. Lean might have started with building cars, but its core philosophy is universal. It's about a relentless, never-ending focus on getting rid of waste so you can create more value. So I'll leave you with this question. Forget the factory floor for a second. Think about your own daily work. Where are the unnecessary steps, the frustrating delays, the rework? Where is the waste for you?